Old Sneelock here again. Back to working on the Craftsman Junior Vise. I got to thinking about it. This was an idea that I picked up from watching a video on Wrangler Star's channel. He was mounting a vise on his workbench, and he made it so that it clamped into his woodworking vise. And I like the idea, especially with this little one, because I don't intend to do a whole lot of tugging and pulling on it, but I'm still going to be doing a bit of work with it, and this kind of vise usually ends up getting pulled around more than what you'd expect. I originally was going to use a piece of 1/2 inch plywood, and I decided to go with 3/4 inch because I wanted to offset the vise. Now, that's different than what Wrangler Star did. He put his right over the top of the woodworking vise. What I'm concerned about is when you put something in the vise, and we'll use this saw as an example. The back jaw of the vise is even with the base. The back jaw of the vise is even with the base. So if I set it over the top of the woodworking vise and I go to clamp something like this vertically in the vise, what's going to happen is it's going to run into the woodworking vise, and I didn't want that. So I thought if I slid it over to the side here, I could clamp something vertically in the vise, say a rod or a piece of bar stock, work on the end and do what I need to do and not run into the woodworking vise. Otherwise I'd have to have it cantilevered out here quite a ways, and that's going to make things more difficult to put it on and put more strain on the board. So my thinking is I'm going to have this board the full width of the vise, and I'll have a 2x4 underneath this going all the way over to here. That way if I decide I can slide it over to this side or I can slide it over to that side, and I'll have the vise securely mounted. If I keep it about this long, it's going to be bigger than what the vise was by itself, so that's going to be a little bit more of a problem for storage, but I think it's going to make the usefulness of the vise a lot better. So that's what my thinking is, and that's what I'm going to do. So to cut off this piece of wood here, piece of plywood to the right width, I'm just going to line it up even with the edge of the vise and mark it across. Now how long that is, I don't know, and I don't really care. I know that when I put the vise on it, I have enough room so that the mounting loop on the vise is about 1/4 inch from the edge of the wood, and this one is far enough away from the vise that I won't be running into it with the bolts or anything else. And this is going to give me enough room to work in the vise and not hit the woodworking vise. So that's appropriate size. Now I know some of you guys are just going to die if you don't know how long it is. It's 15.5 inches. Sorry guys, didn't want to send you into shock. So now I just need to cut this off at that line. I can use this Henry Diston number 12, which is a really, really nice saw. Plywood splinter's pretty easy if you don't take it easy on it when you're doing that last cut. It's It's a donor board from a pallet. And to make sure I have a good enough grip, I'm just going to mark this along there and say that's where I have to cut it. Now I set my marking gauge. Once again, not caring how long or what size it is. I set my marking gauge just a little bit short of that line. I'm going to measure off from this board how long I need to have it. And with the marking gauge, I'm just going to scribe a line across the 2x4. And flip it over. And do the same on the back side. Now I'll be able to check against those lines and be sure that I'm cutting straight and square. It's a little easier to visualize. I'm just running the pencil line down through the groove. Left with a marking gauge. This is a distant thumb hole rip. It's a 5-point. There, far enough. Wish you could smell this. I love the smell of pine. Now I do have to get off my dead butt and finish off the woodworking bench. So I tell you guys, this bench is nice. It's been really good for what I'm doing with it. Works quite well, but it's really kind of a pain in the butt to try and do some of the stuff that I'm doing, like cutting off this board. I really want to have the board sticking out past the edge of the bench, because where it's at right now, it makes it difficult to get a good square cut. That's why this smells so good. That's a real heavy section of pine sap going through that piece of wood. It's a piece of pallet board. Just a little rough pallet board, but wow, it smells great. Now when I drill this, those holes are going to go right through the 2x4. Now it's actually a 2x3 now because I cut off about an inch of it. But those bolts will go right on through the 2x4 and give me a good grip. And I'll just put a stub bolt back here in the back, and I'll put a 1/4-20 T-nut into the bottom of the plywood there so that I can grip a hold of that really well. I've always subscribed to the theory that you can never have too many clamps. And having 1 or 2 long drill bits around is always handy too. This is a special drill bit too. It's designed for telephone repairmen. It has a little hole in the end there, so when I use this drill and drill through a wall, I can hook a little wire on it and pull the wire back through the wall, fish it back through. It's great if you're going to be fishing a little thin piece of telephone wire through a wall. It lets you drill the hole and follow it. That's that sappy piece of 2x4. Loading up the drill bit. Just breaking the corners on the plywood. And if anybody wants to know, this is a Stanley plane. Couldn't tell you what the number is. I picked it up at the antique store a while back and haven't done anything with it other than just use it because it was in good shape when I got it. So I haven't chased down any of the particulars on the plane and haven't worried quite as much about what this one is and anything else about it, just because I haven't had to do anything. Now this is just rough work. It's what I always considered a block plane to be used for, because with something you slipped into your pocket or an apron while you're on the job and carried it around with you. Just to knock off something like what I'm doing here. Before the camera battery died, I was talking about how I wanted to counterbore for the nuts on these 1/4-20 carriage bolts so that I wouldn't have them sticking down here, either collide with the vise or catch on my fingers. And since I'd pre-drilled the holes for the bolts, and that was the way I was going to locate where they were, it's a little difficult to counterbore into an existing hole. Forstner bit with this outer ring, if you set it over the hole, started out slow, variable speed on this DeWalt 1/2-inch drill motor, lets you press down, engage the wood, and drill on down through. That's a 1/4-20 extrusion. It's got a 1/4-20 thread in the barrel of it and 4 prongs on the flange, so that when it's drawn into the hole, the prongs engage the surface of the board and lock the nut in place. I'm running low on these, but they're useful. I've paid $8 for the box back in 1991, so it's probably going to cost a little bit more to buy them now. .1/4-20 bolt and a washer. And drop a carriage bolt down into the hole. One there and one here. At the end of every project, we always have the same thing to do.